Now joining us for deeper insight is Dr. John Kingsley Krugu, former CEO of the Environmental Protection Agency and NPP parliamentary candidate for the Zebila constituency. He shares his views on the government's approach to illegal mining and other related issues. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you.
And you're welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Right, so let's go straight to the conversation. Now, you spent some time at EPA. Now, based on the data that you had access to, how significant is the involvement of foreign nationals in illegal mining?
I think it's quite significant. There are quite a number of foreigners involved in our mining sector. And it is not only limited to Ghana. Having worked as head of the EPA, it also exposed me to what is going on across the continent. And I have had the cause to say that we have to treat this issue of illegal mining as an economic issue and look at it from a positive perspective,
right,
and not a negative thing. This whole idea that the guys out there are doing the wrong thing and let's go and fight them is not the way to go. Because if you take the entire continent of Africa, if you take agriculture away, the next economic activity that engages young people across the continent is illegal mining activity. So it's not just a Ghanaian problem.
Right.
I mean, if you go to South Africa, they call it Zamazama. If you go to the DR Congo, if you go to Zambia, just across. If you go to Liberia, so it's a continent-wide problem. And the earlier we looked at it, because if you take agriculture away, the next thing that you find many young people doing is what we call illegal mining.
Right.
That means that we need to have a critical look at it. And that is also why I am one of the people who says that, look, if young people growing up in poverty, with a difficulty to be able to get, make an economic livelihood, and they are told that the land on which their own parents died in poverty, they can just get a stone, and they don't need to carry that across a long distance. But once they are able to get a stone out of that very land, they're going to get access to money. You can't go and say they are illegal.
Right.
You understand? Because this is the land on which their parents died on.
But there's proper approach to everything.
Thank you. So that is the point. And that is why I'm saying that we shouldn't approach it from a negative perspective.
Right, so I get a point
so
with...
the proper approach is a positive approach to looking at it and to seeing how they can make a livelihood out of it while protecting the environment.
I get your stance with citizens doing it, but when we have foreigners now come in, that is what I want us to look at. Now, the government has decided to deport foreigners who engage in illegal mining. Is that the right approach instead of prosecuting these people to serve as deterrent? That's why I earlier referred you to the data you had at EPA, look at the involvement of foreigners in illegal mining.
Yes, so there are two things. I mean, first of all, right from the beginning, I'll tell you the solution is not to just deport the foreigners.
Right.
You know, so that they have come in and helped to destroy our environment. And all what we do is to say, bye-bye, go back home, and then what happened to what we have? It also set a precedence where foreigners will come and would even try to destroy as much as possible and as quickly as possible. So if I can destroy as much and get something, when they catch me, and then I'll go back home. And so that definitely is not the way to go as a government. But more importantly, these foreigners, if you look at our law,
right,
a foreigner cannot have access to a small-scale mining concession. So it is Ghanaians who is collaborating or has brought these foreigners. Maybe a Ghanaian has gone for a concession. And when I was in office, we identified the problem.
Right.
And thanks to His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's vision, the problem is not a magic bullet. It is simply because the law limits small-scale mining to only Ghanaians.
Right.
Majority of those young people you see doing illegal mining simply do not have the capacity to engage in the kind of mining that we require them to do according to environmental sustainable practices. So if one of them manages to get a concession, this person will begin to go and look for foreigners to come and help and bring in the needed capacity and the financial investment to be able to mine. And that was the reason why. And I sat back and I watched the current government, and they are forming committees and they are doing this, and I said, no, you don't need that. There's a blueprint.
But let me find out from you, will the introduction of the Blue Water Guards as community-based surveillance initiative help in any way?
That is also something that I'm very surprised and I'm actually shocked, because we under the previous government, I don't know whether the media you followed, that water guards were trained. Okay, as National Coordinator for Landscape Restoration and Small-Scale Mining, then I was part of the people who always go to the Naval Command to graduate these water guards. We have taken that route. As a matter of fact, those water guards that were trained never got to the field.
Wow.
It was about institutional issues. Because you have the Naval Command that trained them, then you have Water Resources Commission, and then you have the Minerals Commission. And they were captured under the Minerals Commission. Then the Water Resources will say, we are in charge of the water bodies. Then you have the Navy. So all of that did not amount to anything. Then suddenly I saw that they are going to train another group of young people.
The same thing.
In the same thing.
Right.
I mean, that is not the way to go. I just told you there's a blueprint. We left that blueprint. As a matter of fact, under the leadership of the then Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Samuel Abu Jinapo, we secured, and I led that process, we secured $103 million US to implement a plan, and His Excellency Nana Addo made it clear that there is no quick fix to dealing with galamsey. So he needed a plan that cut across his government. That plan is still there.
Well, maybe that is so maybe
they need to follow through and implement it. The money is there, the plan is there.
Well,
all what they need to do is to get it implemented.
Let's just hope that we are able to follow through this. But so we still have Dr. John Kingsley Krugu here with us. Now, he is former NPP parliamentary candidate for Zebila. Honorable, thank you for staying through. Now, in the lead up to the election, tensions in Boko. So we've moved away from illegal mining. Let's now focus on tensions in Boko. I mean, this Boko and its enclave had escalated tension significantly. Do you believe that this impacted your electoral performance?
I mean, it definitely contributed to what happened there. And on election day, in the entire Kusau traditional area, one cannot really describe it as an election because and rightly so, people voted out of anger, out of fear, you know, voted for their very life because people thought that the previous administration did not handle the issue of the conflict very well. If you follow the story very well, you saw that there was an illegal chief installed in Lerugo. Government came out clearly to make the point that that was an illegality. Government followed up with an action to put a warrant on the arrest of this guy. All of that amounted to nothing. He eventually was brought to Boku, just very close to the election, and said that he's an alternative chief. And as we speak, he's sitting there. So that definitely had an influence and contributed to the outcome of the election in that area.
How do we bring lasting peace and stability in Boko and its environs?
Well, I don't think that question is very difficult to answer, because when you have a whole state declaring something as illegal and saying that there is a recognized traditional leader, a paramount chief, who's recognized by the state, by the institutions, the relevant institutions, the House of Chiefs and all of that, and then somebody get up and say, no, despite all of that, I'm also a chief. I don't think it's a big question to answer. It is absolutely up to the state to do. I mean, if I'm found to be illegal sitting here, you know the state machinery, what they'll do to me. So I think that the state has a job to do. I'm aware that they have followed through the same path that His Excellency Nana-Addo was following through by going through the Asante-Hene and all of that. That work is going on. I'm one of the people who has questioned that process. Not now, also under the previous administration, because I don't understand why, if we all agree that something is illegal, then we are giving the Asante-Hene a difficult task. What is he supposed to say?
When we know the obvious.
When we know what ought to be done. And so we pray. Of course, I'm mindful that this is a very sensitive matter, but we pray that God will grant him the wisdom and the president, the current president. I'm even surprised, because if you listen to the words of the current President Mahama towards the elections, I thought that the first week when he took over his office, the issue of this issue in Boko would have been history.
I mean, you've been in government before and you know how these things work. But before we let you go, I want us to look at the issue of illegal mining. How would you assess the performance in the fight of illegal mining by President Mahama's government so far?
Well, first of all, I think that if President Mahama failed in the fight against this canker, then we are in trouble as a country.
Is he on the right track now?
And the reason I say that is because he has had the opportunity to be president before. He's gone to opposition to reflect over what he did and to watch his predecessor, what he did. And he has come back with hindsight knowledge. So he should be the last person.
How is he performing now?
At the moment, I am afraid that there is not yet a coherent plan or approach to dealing with the matter. What I see is tidbits of media hype. When the Minister for Lands gathered media and said, we are going to fight Galamsey, we'll fight it. I mean, that is not going to deal with the issue of Galamsey.
But is sensitizing the people not important in the fight?
Yes, but it is important. Engaging the people is important, but following through. And there's a blueprint. The outgoing administration left a blueprint there. We started with institutional strengthening. Go to Minerals Commission, go to Ghana Geological Survey Authority, go to what PMMC now they've turned into Gold Board, or you go to all the other agencies, Water Resources Commission, and see what capacity has been brought to these institutions. That was part of the institutional strengthening. And this is about logistics, it's about vehicles, it's about computers and all of that. And then also check the legal framework, the strengthening of the legal framework. The other plan about, and Dr. Baumia spoke a lot, he's left it there. Why wouldn't they just take Dr. Baumia manifesto and implement? You see, if you don't conduct geological investigations and demarcate mineralized lands and then give these lands to these young people, there is not, you can't kick them out of the place.
Very well. Former CEO of the Environmental Protection Authority and NPP parliamentary candidate for the Zebila constituency, Dr. John Kingsley Krugu. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.